welcome to those that are watching us online. So we wish you a good evening as well. I'd like to recognize our Leadership Fannin folks. If you're here tonight from Leadership Fannin, can I get you to stand, please? Leadership Fannin? Stand up. All right, very good. So that is a wonderful program. Went through it myself in 2009 and learned so much about Fannin. So I hope you're enjoying the program. We welcome you to our board meeting. Okay. Our first item on the agenda after call to order is our invocation. At this time, I'd like to ask Reverend Scotty Mathis to come lead some invocation. So everybody please rise. Forward, Reverend Mathis.
Yep. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear God, we just thank you so much for this day that you've given us, God. We thank you for the blessings that you pour out on us each and every day, God. You're so good to us, and for that we're so thankful, God. We want to take a moment to pray for our school system, God. We pray for everyone that works here in the school system, from our principals to our teachers, and everyone, our lunchroom and our custodial staff, God, just everyone that has a hand in this wonderful, wonderful school system, God. We're so blessed to be able to be a part of it, God, and we just thank you for that. We want to lift up our students as well, God. We just pray that you would be with them, Lord. Just protect them, keep them safe, God. We want to lift up this meeting right now. We want to pray for each of our board members, God, for Chad, for Terry, for Mike, for Bobby, and for Lewis, God. And we just want to pray that you would give them wisdom, just help them to lean on you and just to make the best decisions for our school system. And we want to pray for Lewis's wife as well, God. Just be with her during this time. And we also want to pray for this virus that we have now that's going on in our world, God. And we just want to pray for peace for all those that are involved, God. Just help them to find peace and comfort and to know, God, even though it seems chaotic right now, that you're still in control, God. You're still on the throne. Nothing happens inside of your control. And we just thank you so much for that, God. And just be with us all. Again, be with this meeting. And just be with us as we leave this place. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks, Scott. Our next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd like to ask our district attorney the appellation of district attorney. Allison Sophie. Allison, come up and join us up here at the front by the podium. And say a few words to us.
Well, I feel truly blessed to be here, and I am absolutely thrilled today not only to serve in the capacity as district attorney for the Appalachian Judicial Circuit, but the fact that I get to live here with my family and that my children attend this school system. I think that we are truly very, very fortunate.
Thank you so much.
Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Allison, before you leave, stand forward before you see, bring you around. Okay. And yeah.
Do what? Yeah, okay.
Allison, since I've come into this is my third year in this, she has always been somebody that was one phone call away for matters with security, with law enforcement related matters, with her role as the district attorney. She has been an invaluable resource, even as recently as today. Allison is one that brings together government agencies. And anytime that we have situations where we need to bring different agencies to the table and work things out or collaborate and communicate, she is always there to facilitate and help and make that happen. She is a partner in this school system, and I'm thankful for her. And so we have a certificate of appreciation that we'd like to present you for your role as district attorney, and you do truly go above and beyond for this school district, and we thank you for even mock trial. It's making it to the second round, so we're very proud of that as well. We just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, elbow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of y'all for everything.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is Board Appreciation Week next week. And this is our meeting ahead of Board Appreciation Week. And I want to just take a moment while we have everybody out. And I just want to, the service, selfless, dedicated students, taxpayers, faculty, and staff, you're an incredible board. And all one has to do is see that, is see the evidence that we present. I do not do this without you. You make a difference for our school system. Thank you. So at this time, we're just going to give Chad Galloway a round of applause. When Chad came on the board, I think it was 2007. Terry Bramlett came on the board in 2005. Here, 2003. Mr. Cole, 2009. And I will recognize Mr. Woody's 1989 to 2004, and then 2009 to today. Incredible service. Lewis Woods. I'll write down this photograph right here. A little picture of these gentlemen right here. Thanks so much. Item number 4 is to approve the consent agenda. So that, of course, is this agenda, which I will note that I took that out of order. This special recognitions. So, approve the agenda and also to approve the minutes. Mr. Bensley, you will open up the minutes. Take a look at that. And then it's from our meeting in February 13th, 2020. We were here for the bottom. Chair recommended that we adopt this agenda. Second. Item 5 is an address, no action needed. Item 6, school happenings. There she is. You've got your comments. Come on up. Good evening.
It is my pleasure to get to update on all of you about things that have been going on at Blue Elementary School since the last visit in October. So let's get started. First, I want to kind of just touch briefly on some of the learning our teachers have been doing over the course of this year. One of the things that I think that all three elementary principals are most proud of is our elementary teacher collaboration. This school year, on 2 different occasions, we have gotten all of our teachers in our schools together to share with each other about what's going on in the classroom, talk about content. So we started out first with just grade level meetings where the teachers got together at 3 different schools and planned and just talked about things that were going on. And in January, on one of our PL days, we actually got all of the teachers together from all 3 schools at Blue Elementary School. And they were able to talk not only to their grade level peers, they talked to the grade level below them and the grade level above them, so they could see if they were in line with what would be needed for students for years to come, or they preparing students for you know, the grade level that they were going to. It was just a really, really good time for them to get together and talk and plan. We've also had, if you recall, last year we got a grant from Captain Planet and Eagles, and we made a partnership with them that has become long lasting, in that we had them come and do some training for our teachers. So we had a young lady come in and speak to our teachers about project-based learning and taught them how to do some things in their classroom that was very easy and fun for our students to do. Additionally, we have Ryan Buffington come in from Pioneer Research to talk to our teachers about Chromebooks and how to use them more effectively in the classroom so that they can get the most out of the new technology that we have in our classrooms and our students' hands. One of the things we're most proud of recently is we had 3 teachers from our school get certified in egg handling. And so we have lots of chickens in our school and we have eggs, and so we have tried to put them out in the community like we can, but we can't because they're not graded. And so now we have 3 people on our campus who can grade our eggs. We can sell them in the local farmers market, or we can give them to some community members to use. So we're official with our eggs and can use them however we need to. We've continued our bookworms and our mathematics framework training. It just helps our teachers be better at what they do in the classroom. We continue to celebrate students. That's one of the things that we do quite a bit in Fannin County. We try to find the good things our students are doing and just really celebrate all the good things that they do. We had our Veterans Day program where Ms. Elaine Owens came and spoke to our students. It was a fantastic program. We continue to recognize our students each month as STAR students for exhibiting good character traits in our schools. We had our White Christmas celebration, and that's always fun to see our students dressed up and performing for the community. We continue to award students and reward them for their PBIS behaviors, exhibiting good behavior in the school. We have a float party. We did a minute-to-minute STEAM stations where they could go and do some fun things, and then we had our celebration. So we have a lot of fun celebrating the good things our students do. We have been lucky enough to be the recipient of 2 different grants that I want to talk about tonight. One of them is our SHAPE grant, and it has to do with healthy choices and getting our students moving. And so if you see our little kindergartner camper in the middle there pointing to her shoe, we earn money and we bought pedometers for all of the students in our building. And so from pre-K up through 5th grade, all of our students have gotten pedometers, and our 3rd through 5th grade students are actually logging their steps each day in a Google form, that Ms. Finley helped us get going on our Chromebooks. And our students are tracking their mileage of the Appalachian Trail. And so we felt like that was a very relevant thing for them to do. It's right here in our community, so we're going to see how much of the Appalachian Trail they can cover by the steps and the movements that they make every day. Additionally, we've been able to provide different types of fruits and vegetables in our cafeteria for our students to try. You can see over there on the left, we had kiwi. We gave them information about the kiwi, and then every student in the building was able to try it and they chose. And then they got to vote. Did they like the way it looked? Did they like the way it felt? Did they like the way it smelled? And did they like the way it tasted? And so we got some interesting feedback from our students. We've tried kiwi. I think we've tried mangoes. We've tried blackberries. And so it's been a lot of fun. Additionally, as part of this grant, we get food kits once a month, and each of our grade levels get it's kind of like HelloFresh, where the ingredients come packaged and pre-measured, and they get information about the vegetable or fruit that they've gotten, where it came from, and a lot of them come from Georgia farms, and they get a recipe, and the students use the class time to prepare the recipe, and then they get to taste it. I think today one of our kindergarten classes did something with greens, and they were like, this green stuff tastes pretty good. So we get a lot of interesting feedback from them, and it's been a lot of fun. Before I go to our next grant, I want to talk a little bit about some interesting things that we're doing in PE, because our SHAPE grant was kind of a project for our PE teacher, Ms. Monier, and she's amazing. She does way more than just PE in her classes every day. She starts out by warming the students up, and they do things as simple as reciting their like spelling words when they're doing their exercises. Or our kindergarten classes who are learning to count by different intervals of numbers, they'll count by 5s or 10s, and she'll have them warm up that way, so it reinforces that. Well, they did an activity in gym where they had, this was our 5th grade class, and you know, parachutes are still a really, really big deal in gym. When I was a little girl, when the parachute was on the floor, we were about to have a lot of fun. And so they still love that. She had them and challenged them to try to ring the basketball goal by using a manipulated parachute. So I'm just going to let this video play for a minute because one of our students kind of explains what they tried to do, and it was more than just PE. It was way more than just PE. So I'll take a look at it.
Okay, not yet. 1, 2, 3. Tell me about what we did today.
So I got one half of the parachute. People were squatting down, so it would kind of be like just a pad for the ball, you know. And then the other half, I had people standing straight up, so when they snapped it, the ball would go higher. But the people that were squatting, it was just for a little bit extra force. Because I was thinking, if we squatted and we did it, and we snapped it towards them, then they would get more extra air and it would lift the ball up higher.
More energy, right?
Yeah, but then I was also thinking, I made 2 people sit down for it because I wanted an extra pad just in case we had the ball go straight up, then we had another pad. So a couple of people.
So I just kind of wanted you to get an idea of what was going on in their minds. And she does this all the time in PE, so it's way more than just movement and physical activity. She tries to connect it to the world around them and just make it relevant to life. And her children have their elementaries, which just makes her really, really great. Then our cardio drumming was something totally new that we did. We got some exercise balls from the middle school that they were getting rid of. We bought the 5-gallon buckets of drumsticks, and the kids have had the most fun just doing cardio routines with the drumsticks, and they hit the floor and hit the drums and dance around. And I think now, are y'all doing it at East Fannin? So East Fannin is trying it. They have had the best time. And it's been fun to watch on video. Like, we'll be in our offices doing something, and we'll see all this stuff going on. And then you just watch, like, this is really, I want to go before that with them. Our other grant we received was called a STAR grant. It was given by the Department of Education, and it's meant to support the arts. And we presented a keyboard drum. So we've gotten, I think, 9 keyboards in our music class now. And all of our classes are learning some different aspects of the keyboard, playing the piano. Then we have a keyboard club in grades 3 through 5. They've gotten the keyboards, the benches, headphones with a microphone that they can talk to each other. So the kids are playing the keyboards, but you can't hear them because they're all connected. The teacher has her headphones. She can give them feedback as they're playing. It's just been really good. And I actually got to go and listen one day. They were all playing in unison, and one of the little girls was actually singing the song with her. It was just cute. They are really, really enjoying it. We also are taking data on this. So we have a rubric that we created. The children are assessing themselves and their skills. And we'll do that periodically throughout the year to see how they grow in their knowledge of keyboards. We've had a few creative nights that we've done with our families. This was a math night, which we have a math night every year. What made this different is that we actually had every grade level prepare a take-home activity with some supplies, so teachers could send home activities with every grade level student from different aspects of math, and they could go home and practice it with their students. The parents could take it and practice it with their students. And so they've had some reinforcement of the games and things that they could do in class. We had a show and tell night. Our show and tell night involved, it's what I used to think of as open house when I was a little girl, where you come and show off all of the things that you're going to do in class. Our students prepare things in their classes, just normal content that they do every day, and they invited their parents to come see what they've been doing. So you can see we had things on iPads, presentations that they created. We have 4th grade students who videoed their own weather forecasts with a green screen. We have dioramas, just all kinds of different activities that the students were real excited to share with their parents. And you can tell from our pictures, we had a great turnout. The parents really wanted to come see what their students were doing. This past week on Tuesday, we had a STEAM night. And I put this slide up here because our STEAM teacher, Ms. Tate, actually went to a conference in the fall where she learned about this young man named Kane. And Kane's dad owns an auto body shop, and he was stuck there over the summer.
and he built a whole arcade out of cardboard. And so she had the idea that we would do that our students would take cardboard and make games, and we would have an arcade, and the students would come and play games and earn prizes. And that's what we did. I'm sure the rest of the people are. All right, so we had a lot of pictures of our event. We probably had maybe 150 families come out. Our cafeteria was full, and our students made the most amazing games. We had skee ball, we had some like cornhole boards, we had a claw machine made out of cardboard and magnets where kids could, try to pick up the animals with magnets. And so we had a really great event where all of our parents came on a very, very rainy night and filled our cafeteria. We also celebrated somewhat of a random acts of kindness week. Our weather kind of interfered with some of the activities that we had planned. But there is a week in March, or actually in February, where we celebrate our differences, and we have students just recognize that even though we look different and learn differently and we talk differently, that we still can be kind to each other, and we try really hard to celebrate that. Last week, we had a grandparent event. We opted not to do our Grandparents' Day in the fall because there were a lot of other activities going on. So what we did is during National Breakfast Week, we invited our grandparents to breakfast. We were able to show off on our school nutrition program. You can tell we had tons of grandparents show up, and then grandparents were able to take their students to the book fair and shop with them, and so the students were real excited about that. And it happened to be pajama day that day for Dr. 6 weeks, so that was a big leader. Tonight, our schools are at the Ignite grant finale, where we find out who receives the big money for the Ignite grant. We had 2 finalists from our school. We had a K through 2 project and a 3 through 5 project. Our K through 2 project is they proposed a literacy garden where they put a terraced garden outside of the media center. So those are our little garden gnomes that they presented for that. They actually planned and drew out a diagram of what the garden would look like, how much it would cost. It was a good activity for them. And then we have had aquaponics in our courtyard, but we have had some problems getting it going like we want to. And so our students brainstormed the problems that we were having, what we could do to solve them. And a lot of it has to do with temperature and heat and ventilation. And so they proposed some solutions to those projects, and we're able to present that as well. And tonight, I think all 3 of our schools in Fannin County make up the 3rd through 5th grade division. So one of our schools will bring home the big money, and we're real excited about that. And I think we make up at least 2 of the 4 for K through 2. Is that 2 or 3?
I think it's 3.
3, maybe 3 of the 4. So we're real excited about that. I'd like to thank our community partners that come out and support our school. You can see we have Ms. Jocelyn Miller has come and supported events at our school. Mark Taylor, who is one of our substitutes, he's a storm chaser. He came and talked about meteorology to our 4th graders, and then they made their own weather broadcast. It was great. Ethan Taylor, product of Fannin County Schools, came and shared about photography with our alpha classes. Yeah, our Blue Ridge Community Theater always comes out and supports our classrooms, and then the Craddock Center as well. They come all the time to share with our pre-K students. So we have a really great partnership with a lot of performances. And as always, we want to thank you for our spliced improvements that we've had. These are just the ones that we've had since October. So we've got a few new soffit doors so that we can have secure doors coming in and out of our office area. We've gotten, I think about, eventually by the end of the installation, we'll have 14 new Sonic boards installed in our classrooms. And then in front of Blue Ridge Elementary School, all of the trees were removed. They were interfering with drainage and gutters and things like that, so they were able to take all of those away and really make our front of our school look really nice. So we appreciate all the support that you give us.
Board, questions about council?
One question about the fruit.
Okay.
When the kids did the fruit, no allergic reaction?
We do know what our allergies are, and we have
have choices of what we can choose from, so we try really hard to stay away from that.
I love mango, but I didn't know that was mango. That's always sneaks up.
And we do advertise that we're gonna have, so the parents let us know you can always.
I'd like to compliment you on your afternoon pickup with your students as well. That was quite a show to watch. Very well on time and excellent. Very appreciative.
Okay, now you're getting ready to go down the other way. Are you gonna say? Okay, all right. So Mr. King's down there, but Mr. Ruth is gonna go down the other way, correct?
Sir,
All right, so you're next up, so.
if you'll just give me an hour and 15 minutes of your time, I'll ready. Just kidding.
As long as we're out in that ball.
Mr. Ruth did it.
I could. Like I said, very effective with a filibuster if I could do it. Anyway, I'm Lucas Ruth. I'm the director of applied and integrated instruction, and so what that means for the most part is that right now I'm over the CTAE programs at the middle school and high school, and over STEM and STEAM education across the county, and I'm very excited about that. I'm just glad to be here, and I could probably spend a long time just giving thank yous. I going into this job January 1st, brand new into it, and I know for a fact, first off, I wouldn't even have to be able to have the job without Dr. Guadney and without you, the Board of Education. So I just appreciate that. So thankful to the STEM and STEAM lab teachers at all the schools, being able to collaborate with them, meet, bounce off ideas, they're always just ready to brainstorm, ready to move forward, and very appreciative there. I put thank you to Ms. Dubois, Mr. Shopey, Mr. King, the CTAE teachers, and Ms. Heaton. The reason all those are up there is because, again, I wouldn't be able to come to this job, first off, and have it be where it needs to be without Patty Dubois and where she left it in a successful place. And I'm just honored to be able to take it and move forward. Mr. Shopey for being willing to sit down with me, collaborate, again, brainstorm, bounce ideas off of each other. Mr. King is currently serving as the CTAE department chair, Chairman King. He's doing a fabulous job. He's one of those guys that just a natural leader. He's just a great guy and doing great things. And the CTAE teachers have welcomed me in very graciously. Ms. Heaton is the bookkeeper up there. Same thing. I don't think I'd be able to do it without her. One more thank you I want to put up here also, and she's not expecting it, and that's Susan Wynn. Because every month we get something called X reports, and I have to sit down and work on those. And she's a finance director that's willing to sit down with me, explain I'm one of those annoying kids that has to know why, why is this, why is that, and she's willing to sit down with me and explain to me why this is how it is and where it's going and what we're doing, and I'm just very thankful for that. And she does it with a smile on her face. She doesn't make me feel like an idiot, and I love that. And so it's just very, very, very appreciative for that. Our goals, CTAE-wise and STEM, really, like I put up here, helping students identify gifts and abilities, providing students with career exposure, providing students with the skills and opportunities they need to succeed in life, and just getting to that point where we view graduation as the starting line and not the finish line. And that's something you'll hear in CTAE land a lot, to think of that. And then just knowing that CTAE can help propel all students to success. Every decision is based on the interest of the kids, of the students. One thing before I want to put up here has to do with the Soapbox Derby, and that is, we consider that a STEM event. They're actually going to have a STEM category for that this year, and that's coming April 25th on a Saturday. And I know that there's a lot of teachers out there working really hard, those STEM lab teachers at different schools working hard to make sure that happens. So everyone's welcome to come to see about that, and of course, going to be hopefully a lot of interest and a lot of cars, a lot of participation there. Just wanted to highlight a few things for the elementary schools, Blue Ridge Elementary, and of course, Dr. Hodges already pointed out some of these things, but one thing that I'm impressed with is they've got the aquaponics there, like she said, and they've got a few kinks to work out, but they're not just, sitting there praying that they're gonna work out. They're reaching out, and they're bringing in volunteers, bringing in partners to help with that. They actually had a high school, Christian Heritage High School students that have aquaponics at their high school, and so they were able to get in contact with them, and those kids came and started helping the Blue Ridge Elementary School kids to see about how to fix some of those different hangups they're having. So I just feel like that, you know, they're going to get to a point to where that's going to be working better and better by using those partnerships. Like she mentioned, the arcade games, I was impressed with that because, you know, what I saw is the kids, you know, they're not just randomly building an arcade game. I mean, they're starting with a plan, they're executing the plan, and then they're not just stopping there, they're looking to see then how can they improve the plan? How can they improve what they've already done? And so that's what I, you know, whenever I went up to meet Miss Tate, she was working on those, that's what I gleaned from that, is that the kids were really focused on that improved stage. And that's thinking like an engineer, thinking like a scientist, and so that was pretty cool to see. The egg candling classes, and of course I had to be taught a little bit about that, about the fact that it's, you know, called egg candling, I guess, because back in the day they used candles to actually show, you know, to look at the embryos. Is that correct? Yeah, maybe. All right, so the reason I have that on there is because it's so cool, because that egg candling class happened at our ag facility, and I know that our ag teachers up at the high school were so excited to see those 3 Blue Ridge Elementary School teachers come in there and take part in that. That was just that to me is perfect STEM education. That's partnerships, not only just in the elementary school, but partnering from high school to elementary. And so that was just cool to see that. East Fannin, they've gone club crazy at East Fannin, and I'm excited about that. One thing I wanted to mention is the Girls Who Code, and I know Mr. Price mentioned that too to y'all, but that is so important, because if you Google STEM education, guarantee you that several of those top hits are going to be about closing the gender gap in STEM fields, you know, engineering, the math fields, the science fields, trying to close that gender gap. And Girls Who Code, that's part of the premise, part of the purpose, is to help close that gender gap down the road. So, you know, very, very proud of that for East Fannin. And they've got some very intentional, purposeful collaboration going on right now with their teachers when it comes to STEM. Very excited about that too. West Fannin, they've got the adoption stream still going on there, the scientific research, the apple orchard where they're collecting data on a regular basis. And I know the BAT project was mentioned last board meeting, but I also just want to point out that that BAT project that was presented last board meeting, that is a perfect example of STEM education too, because that's a teacher taking a theme, taking a topic of bats, and then basically found a way to tackle all of her standards, math, science, ELA, reading, you name it, through that one topic, using the bat to excite kids and then integrate all of the standards into what she's doing. And so that's just a perfect example of meaningful first grade STEM education. And then they have a STEAM certification pre-visit on March 17th at West Fannin. The middle school, I want to talk really quickly about some of their collaboration going on. If you look at the picture over here in the bottom right, that's 2 teachers, the ag teacher and the STEM lab teacher, that are working together, again collaborating, and basically working in the STEM lab to find a successful harness or a way to lift an injured animal off the ground at the ag facility. So these kids, you know, they're not just randomly working on something in the STEM lab. They have something with purpose going on where they're trying to work on something that's going to help rescue an animal or help an injured animal. And so that was just a really cool partnership to see. And again, that's just a perfect example of STEM, integration, collaboration with a purpose. Also, they in the middle there, that's a student that placed, it was 5th place in a state ag show there. So that's something to be proud of too. They have some career tech student organizations at the middle school, FFA and TSA, two to be very proud of. We had a couple of meetings I want to talk about really quickly when it comes to CTA ELAN. We had one meeting where we looked at labor market data and we had another meeting at the ag facility that was kind of a CTAE celebration. Those meetings combined, and we looked at equity and program of interest, those two meetings combined kind of allowed us what we feel like to make some pretty calculated decisions on what was offered to the kids to try to match up with that labor market data. And so we'll talk about some of that now. The first cluster up there, the ag cluster, we just feel like all of these clusters combined, all the pathways combined, they really match up with the labor market, match up with the job force, not only locally but statewide. So again, we don't just have clusters and pathways just for the fun of it. I mean, we have clusters and pathways up there at the high school that have that purpose to match up with the labor market. As you know, ag is a major part of what's going on in the state, major part of the past, the present, and the future of the workforce in the state. And so we have that, and our kids are preparing when it comes to that. Architecture and construction, we have carpentry being offered next year, fine furniture, and then we have welding being offered, and electrical. Again, that was something that welding and the electrical piece came up over and over again when we met with local industry members in terms of what was something that we really needed to try to offer at our high school, again, to match up with where the jobs are going to be, and good paying jobs are going to be. The audio video technology, the film industry is a major part of what's going on in the state right now, and we feel like we have that to respond there. The business and entrepreneurship up there, that's something that is a new offering, and if enough kids sign up for that, then that is something that, again, came up over and over again in our meetings with our local industry, that they wanted to see kids that had the entrepreneurship skills, the soft skills, that understood business and understood how to communicate with people. Not only, those hard skills, but those skills that you can't, those abstract skills, basically. And this pathway is a perfect pathway to try to help with that. Also, University of North Georgia is willing to roll out the red carpet for that pathway, to have something where in the last course of that pathway, the kids are able to come up with an entire business plan and pitch it to members of the University of North Georgia staff. And so that's something that, if that makes, I feel like that's going to be very exciting. Education and training, again, that cluster, those pathways, that is a massive, along with health science, those are massive industries that are going to continue to grow when it comes to projections. And so we have great pathways for those. Looking at the health science, the patient care, kids get their CNA, their certified nurse assistant, their certification there. That's huge. And we're going to offer the pharmacy there online for kids, for a pocket of kids that have already completed pathways. And that pharmacy pathway will be very important because kids will be able to get a pharmacy tech certification if they complete that pathway. Food and nutrition. Locally, the food industry is a major part of our workforce, and again, those kids if they complete that pathway, they'll get their ServSafe certification and can move right into the food industry if they'd like to do so. Information technology, we have game design and cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a new thing we're offering. We're excited about that because that is something that is, again, a major part of the workforce moving forward. Major part of the military. For kids that succeed with cybersecurity, the military is willing to come in and pay for all their college. So that's something that we hope will continue to blossom, and we're looking forward to that pathway. And then STEM with the engineering and technology, again, if you look at the jobs that are the hot jobs across the state and across the nation, most of those jobs are engineering-based, STEM-based jobs. So again, we feel like that these clusters, these pathways together, put together a beautiful picture of responding to not only the local job market, but the statewide job market as well. And we're excited about that. CTAE up at the high school, we have all the following career and technical student organizations. All of these have been thriving for years. These are not new, but we've got and all of these have they've gone on certain conferences lately, and some are gone now, and some were supposed to go in the future, and some of that might be yet to be determined. But we're excited for what we've seen so far. When it comes to those CTSOs, over here on the left, this was TSA, a teams event. Our ninth and 10th graders finished third in one of the events there. This is FCCLA down here. All of those students received gold medals and qualified for state. And then we had HOSA on the bottom there that competed at the HOSA event. And then we had a scrub day to represent again the CTSOs. And I put a little note there that those CTSOs are so important because they're providing students with purpose, confidence, self-worth, all that they need, all those skills they need for life, and so much more. One thing, and again, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, but one thing that we worked on, and Mr. Shofi and I sat down and worked on projected of starting a STEM academy at the high school in the fall of 2021. And that would be kind of a cohort model, but we want to make sure that cohort model is not just an elitist model, so to speak, but that it's based on passion, that it matches up with those kids that are hopefully passionate about engineering, passionate about mathematics, and the real, obviously we've already got amazing things going on at the high school when it comes to all that. The only difference here would be just trying to be, intentional when it comes to the integration of the subject matter and then intentional with the collaboration. Because to me, math didn't make sense to me until I could see the application of it, see it in engineering and see it in physics and things like that. So we're excited about this possibility. Also, this is perfect timing for something like this, as I put down at the bottom, with the UNG campus coming, hopefully, and whenever they say they're coming. But the point is that's going to be an exciting time to do this, because with the offerings that they're going to have in terms of biology and things like that, this will allow us to have the flexibility to pull something like this off. And again, we're excited about it. Again, just in the hypothetical right now, though. Possible pathways we think would be engineering and then professional health and medicine. And this is just an example of a hypothetical pathway. And the reason, again, these pathways are so important, if you notice with, like over in 10th grade over here, that Foundations of Engineering class, it matches up perfectly with what they're learning in Algebra 2 and matches up perfect with a non-calculus based physics. So that, again, they can see the math that they're learning in Algebra 2, they can see it applied in their Foundations of Engineering class. And those teachers that are teaching those classes could collaborate and make sure that they have integrated projects to help that application make sense. Same thing with 11th grade. Concepts of engineering, it would match up perfectly with pre-calculus in that regard. And obviously, Mr. Shofi was nice enough to sit down with me and kind of help maneuver the rest of the classes in some of these pathways as well, to where that would make sense for these kids. And then in 12th grade, same kind of thing. That engineering applications, it would match up perfectly with what the kids are currently learning in AP Calculus, so that, they're not just learning calculus on a page, they're able to apply it in that engineering of applications class very meaningfully and intentionally, to where it lets that math come to life. And then, as you notice in 12th grade, like I was saying about UNG, one thing that makes this very possible right now is that, if we can either offer AP Biology or AP Chemistry, or have the kids go enroll in those classes instead at UNG if needed. So it's just good timing for something like this, and we'll hopefully get it going, and that'll be that. Real quick, thank you. I don't even know if CTA would be a shell of itself without SPLOST. So definitely thank you to SPLOST, and just thank you for letting me present to you tonight, and thanks for everybody's support, and just excited to have this job.
Mr. Can you go over
Yes.
real quick? I know you've got to go to the night, it might be over by now.
Can I go back?
The industry certification.
Yes, I knew I'd forget, thank you. We are considered a rural high school, obviously. We have two, thank you, Mr. Shofi, for reminding me about that. We have two, hang on. We have two of our clusters, so to speak, that are industry certified. Our engineering lab is industry certified. And then also, we have our health science lab is industry certified. We are right now, there's very few rural high schools that have 2 industry certified programs. And when you look at the definition, it's basically, it's considered the apex of quality when it comes to a CTAE program and the lab and what's going on in the classroom. We have a third pathway right now, early childhood education, that is sitting there primed and ready to become industry certified, but you can't become industry certified until you've been a program for 3 years, and I think we're on our 3rd year. If we get that 3rd industry certified program, we will literally be one of the only rural schools with 3 industry certified programs in the whole entire state of Georgia. So, I mean, that's something that's very phenomenal, and that's just something to hang your hat on, something to be very proud of. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to compliment you on the application. You were very competitive when you're getting the right answer. And this is 2000 starting. But then we developed real production functions and had business applications, and all of a sudden you had real use of skills and a whole new platform. I'm excited about the application.
You're available?
Thanks, unless it's over.
You let us know.
I'll go.
Yeah, principals or assistant principals here too, let us know. what
Yeah,
the
if you see it, we win a category of $10,000, please.
We'll volunteer about that.
Thank you.
Keep going. Next item number 8 is traffic update. Last defense, defense guy. And also, yeah, this, Dr. Illinois. Yeah, right. Betsy, why don't you tell us, before we turn forward, Dr. Illinois, try and talk to us a little bit about what life is like.
Okay, everybody knows we're about COVID-19 and everything. So as a school system, our number one thing is we want to keep our kids safe. But we also want to keep our community safe. So, we have a lot of grandparents who are raising kids. We have a lot of grandparents who babysit. So we have to look at keeping the community safe, looking at our students. So we have been spending a lot of time and effort here trying to do everything we can to do. This is one of the things, we get updates, we're getting daily and more than one time a day updates, and they change every day almost with what's going on. We get it from the Department of Public Health. The Department of Education is working with the Department of Public Health and the CDC, and they're sending us guidelines and things we need to look at, and we're setting in. We have been on so many conference calls. We've sat down. We've had a Homeland Security conference call, Public Health, Board of DOE, the Department of Education. We've had the governor today. We're having bi-weekly statewide calls that we set in to talk about what's going on, because the truth is everything's changing. I mean, it's changing just faster than we come up with one thing and then it changes because we get more information. We met with Dr. Miller and Robert Graham and the EMA and the hospital. We set a meeting with them and went through everything we need to do to keep our keep people safe. We're going to start meeting every week on that. We're going to have a meeting there. So we're doing everything. We had a Pioneer Reset. We had a superintendent's meeting. We sat down about what all the surrounding school systems are doing and the planning we're making, and everybody trying to make sure everything's safe. So we're looking at it. We're trying to come up with future plans. We're looking at, we're working, everybody's working together to see what we can do if we had to close, how we can do that. Hand washing is the biggest thing. Everything will tell you the major way to help with this is hand washing. So that's one of the things we focused on. So we had all our nurses train our teachers, which sounds like, oh gosh, people know how to wash their hands, but no, have you brought this on class? and, things like that. So they train the teachers are training the kids, are talking to the kids, showing them how. We've asked them to plan to set aside time. I mean, they're scheduling it out. They're making kids go wash their hands at different times. It's not like just a random thing, and it's not just like before you go eat. It's all during the day. Dr. Miller's wife is coming. She has a project where she's coming. If you saw one of the pictures, she's got a neat thing where you rub this stuff on your hands, and then you go wash your hands, and so the kids say they're clean, and then you put it under a black light to see how much bacteria is left. So they've been so nice, and she's volunteering, and she's going to all our schools and into classes and working with the kids, showing them how to do that. So our janitors, I mean, we started probably 2 weeks. I mean, we always, especially during flu season, we try to make sure we're doing things extra special care for and cleaning up. But we started back 2 weeks ago or more, asking them to make sure that teachers and the janitors are wiping doorknobs, they're cleaning desks, computer, things like that all the time. We still have hand sanitizer and all that. We have plenty of it now. But they're trying to find it. As you know, it's getting harder to find all that stuff that he's found. So we've got back orders, but right now we have plenty. So we prefer the soap and water washing, but we also use the hand sanitizer. We're posting all this information on our website and trying to tell everybody how important it is not to touch their faces, not to do so. We're looking at things like, you can go to our Fannin website, and we have information on that parents can look at and see what to do. And as far as field trips go, as I said, everything is changing every day. So we're looking at every field trip that is being submitted. We're looking at where they are, what's going on there. We call, and check if that area has had any confirmed cases. I mean, we're doing everything we can to try to make sure, to determine whether we're going to go on that field trip or not. So, anything else?
And this is our website. We can log on to our website. Just click our website. It's got all the different. This comes up as a pop. It comes up as a pop-up palette when we close school. Dr. Miller was gracious enough to come out and actually meet with all our administrators and talk to them.
Our nurses.
So we've reached out to a lot of our community members. Again, here's a lot of fact sheets, prevention, hand washing, CDC, website CDC. So all of that is right on our website once you click on www.fannin.pa.
One of the important things when he came and trained with us that afternoon, with the nurses and admin and stuff, is what to do if we do have students who come up and got runny noses and I mean, he's telling them training them how to do and what we need to do and how we need to handle that. So we're working on it, and we sure appreciate him and his wife. They are really helping us.
Well, thank you, Dr. Parker. Thank you, board, for giving me the opportunity to talk with you. I think obviously this is a time where there's so much information coming at you, you don't really know which direction you're supposed to look. And I think right now we're almost facing, two challenges. There's the virus itself, of course, but then there's the misinformation, where to get the right information. I think I'm still trying to figure out why toilet paper is on the list of things that people are going out for. But I think that, there's it's important, I think, as a school system to, have coordination. And we, Dr. Watney and the hospital system, EMS have all decided, and we see that it's very important that we have coordination, and that obviously preparedness is the most important thing we can do. And just like in school systems and hospitals, we always have to think about worst case scenarios and expect the worst, hope for the best. And I think when you go go about your preparedness in that capacity, then you know what to expect if that does happen, if that worst case scenario does happen to come about. So we met and we talked about all sorts of scenarios, situations, how we'd want to handle it, how we would coordinate. We talked about what the process is happening from a hospital situation, how it happens at the EMS side, and then from a school standpoint, looking at health and safety of our kids, but also our community, because they intersect, obviously. How we can best protect, the people and keep them out of harm's way. And so that's something that we will continue to coordinate and we'll continue to work together so that we can give our citizens the best opportunity to be prepared for the virus. Just a few things, I met after that meeting the same day. I met with all of the admin team as well as the nurses. So we talked a lot about really just educating about the virus itself, all the things that, some of the things that were, maybe not things that were, that people have heard that maybe not so true, things that were true, things that we're expecting, scenarios and situations, how to handle and manage kids that come in to the nurse's office that have an illness and what's the best way to handle those kids. Fortunately, I think from a school system perspective, we're dealing with a virus that doesn't impact children in the same way it is our elderly population. This is a disease that will significantly impact people 60 and above, and especially those in the 80+ population. Children, as the last time I looked, there wasn't a reported death of any child under age 10 across the world. But which is wonderful and great from a kid perspective, but also that means that they can carry this virus and potentially give it to those that are in that high-risk area. So from a school system perspective, our goal is just to prevent the disease spread. So we talked a lot about that with the administrators, the nurses, telling them that, two things that they can do. First, of course, is educating the parent. If your child's sick, they don't need to be at school. The second thing is we're talking about if they are ill, rather than just take them right to a doctor's office or take them right to an emergency room or take them right to a walk-in clinic, if they aren't significantly ill, to make a call to those offices ahead of time so they know how to prepare for them, so that if we can try to prevent a lot of sick people coming in contact with those that aren't sick, and they can coordinate that at the office level or at the hospital level. So it's going to be real important, I think, for that call ahead to happen. So nurses are going to be educated about how to inform people of how to best get their loved one, taken care of, if they need to be assessed by a physician or by a medical provider professional. The other thing, I think, as Betsy said, really the one thing since I can't go to a community forum without giving some type of medical advice. Just like Betsy said, there are really a few things as a public we can do. Washing hands is obviously the most important, and my wife did do it. She started at West Fannin doing a hand washing little experiment with the kids. So there's a few of those rooms. If you got a black light out, it might look like a CSI show. But I think it would really get hammered into the children and the students that just putting your hands over the faucet for a few seconds does not constitute washing your hands. So they realize what washing hands really does mean. So I think that's very important for our kids to learn. The other thing I think is kind of the social awareness and just kind of social distancing. When you go out into the public, especially those that are in that high-risk area for their own safety, but those that aren't in that high-risk 60+ category, so they don't spread the disease. And that's kind of working out what's described as kind of a 6-foot rule. If you have a space around you, kind of a 6-foot, area, you're going to not be able to pick up a disease process from the people around you. And you can't do that all the time, but you can be conscientious of that when you're moving around. It's like, I'm going to avoid that aisle right now. I'll come back to it later when there's not as many people. Let me go down the cereal aisle. Or when you're standing in line with the grocery, have your buggy in front of you to kind of keep you a little space. And if you're out the back here, you might be in the middle, so you have a little space for the protection of your buggy, so that you aren't going to get as close. And being conscientious about when you go into big spaces where there's a lot of people, you know, if you can avoid that, especially those who are in the high-risk area, I just strongly recommend, you know, just being careful and putting yourself in those situations right now. And then the other thing, you know, if you're sick, stay home. You know, don't expose other people to that illness. That's at this, you know, at our kid level and all the way up to, you know, our adults in the working. And you know, I think that, you know, I know that obviously school closures are at the top of everyone's mind, especially here, and how to approach that. And I think it's going to take a lot of, you know, gathering as much information you can about making an educated decision for what's best for your school system, because we aren't the same as any other school system. You know, everyone has their unique characteristics, their unique population, and their unique risks that they have to manage. And so I think that's something that I know Dr. Quatney and he'll you know, take in that information from all those entities and make a, you know, the decision that you know, will be in the best interest of our students and our community. And so I think that, you know, I guess the final point is this is kind of how I would equate where we are right now. There's a fire alarm going off, you know, the fire alarm going off, and I think we hear that fire alarm. We don't know if there's a fire in here. It could be, you know, it could be that there's something in this building that we're hearing, but we don't know where in the building it is. You know, we don't have enough tests to be able to tell what areas of the country are most impacted, what clusters within the state are most impacted, whether or not we actually have people in our own community right now that have it that we just haven't been able to test yet. We don't know that information right now. All we know is we're hearing a fire alarm. And so I think as an organization, as a community, as a school system, we have to decide at what point do we need to make a decision when it comes to that fire alarm in the best interest of our folks, so that they don't get burned. And I think that's where we're at. And you know, I think that between now and over the course of the next several months, and probably over the course of the next year, there's going to be a lot of challenges that we'll be facing as health professionals, as school board members and community leaders and administrative staff, that there's not a good answer. There's not a black and white answer. There's not a scenario where it makes it easy to decide what's in the best interest of everyone, because there's going to be situations that may not be perfect in all scenarios. But I know that we have good leadership here that's going to make you know, the right decisions for our folks, and I'm going to help in any way I can. I'm doing things at the hospital that things don't end at the hospital. This is a community wide you know, issue, and I'm going to make myself as available and to you all, and be able to ask questions. I gave all the administrative staff my cell phone number, so I think that you know, if they have any questions about anything, have something that comes up, you know, I'll be accessible, because I don't want someone going away not having the right answer. I spoke too long for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Questions? All right, thank you. Thank you.
All right, part of the rules we have for school governance meetings is there has to be a minimum of 6. And all of our schools have at least 8 to 10 or whatever a year. So with the weather that we've had lately, we've had to postpone a few and try to get them in. So Blue Ridge was supposed to meet the 27th, and we were out, and then we moved it again, and the same thing had happened with West. So they didn't meet, but they did go ahead. They can contact their SGT people and let them, for like field trips and things that are coming up, that we need to get to get their okay on. So there is a sign language field trip to the Georgia School of the Deaf was approved. The kindergarten is going to Sparkles, maybe, and Marcy Harper is going for Special Olympics in April, as we said. And so that was all that went on this month, but they're meeting virtual, so it'll be a longer meeting. East Fannin had no facility use requests. They also have some field trips lined up for kindergarten to go to the Children's Museum. They also want to visit the zoo. The Alpha students are planning to visit the Center for Creek Arts. So those were also put in approved. Their new fundraisers, the newscast team sold copies of their Veterans Day program. The SGT approved third grade selling blow pops. Mr. Price shared, one of the things we do, we have principals and directors come in and sit in, and they submit their wishes and goals and needs for next year. And Mr. Price had his list, and he shared it with his SGT members and got input from them at that meeting to see what they thought about that. And then he also, one of the things he discussed with her new teams, they are really, they have a whole lot of teams down there. They're meeting like the Girls Who Code every week, the running club, they have all kind of hiking club, they have all kind of clubs going on. He presented all that to the SGT. Well, Fannin, they're got there twice, I guess we scheduled it and it did through. So they have for their field trip request, they will go to the Agriculture Center for Ag Day. That's in April. Mr. Sexton, a lot of these were about the Lion King and going to practice and going back and forth. And Ms. Ruth asked to sell raffle tickets to raise money for Alpha. Middle school had MEC made a request to use the school for a spring clean, which was parents and students came in and they had some stuff. There were 6 of the CTA classes went to competition, so they got that approved. Mr. Weaver went to Dawson County for the band, and then they're doing the sweepers had the rich scholars to Young Harris College and Cleary College. And fundraiser request was Larson wants to have a golf tournament to raise money for the golf team. That'll be in March, the end of March, and this youth wants to sell T-shirts to raise money for the trip. Ms. Rickon came to the meeting and she trained the HGT members on their vision and mission in the county. I got feedback. One of the things I have to do here is get feedback from the principals and the performance. And I was able to do that. I said I got feedback from their members on Mr. Knuckles. And I guess he's still going to be here for a while. And, they all love it, by the way, just like all of us do. And then, it's always interesting. I like getting this feedback because they have a room to say, see him and get close to him, and they can give you some really good feedback on. And high school had, they're just like everybody else. They have had these trips, and we don't know for sure, but they have, Rec League has asked to use our field for 5 soccer games in our stadium. Ms. Gibbs wants to use the old gym lobby for a blood drive. And for field trip requests, we have 9 CTA competitions. And Ms. Gibbs says we'll see how that goes. We've already had some. We've had some, but we're also going to, Mr. Gibbs is going to take the kids to tour UTC, his audio and video class, and we're also going to Kennesaw State in March. They have that approved. And then the band, Mr. Barnstead's going to Rhinelander University. And fundraisers are for, there's 6 band fundraisers in Key Club, and they're selling courses, selling more than seasons. I'll be back on principal at their meeting. Had Mr. Watt did a training on work-based learning and dual enrollment. We had a safety update from Dr. Ramsey and Chris Nibble discussed the 2020 census. We need to do that now.
update, something that we call cold. And we got to, probably can click on that. We got to test out cold one day. What's going on about?
Before we start, let me just say for everyone in the audience, you are safe from me. I do fall into that immunocompromised field, so in an abundance of caution, I am wearing this. So if you've been sitting there this whole time and you're like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with that woman? It's all mental. So don't worry at all. And that's sort of, I know, see, normally I might show up in costume, but I promise that is not the case this time.
We did get to try out cold for the first time, Friday before last. And so, yes, February 28th. And, it was great. It was a good trial run for us. My department has been preparing for being able to flip learning for several years now, and seeing it carried out for the first time was actually really exciting. It was a busy day, troubleshooting as well. And so after that day, obviously, because it was our first time ever doing something like that in Fannin County, we wanted to get feedback from our students and parents and our staff. And so we wanted to kind of present to you how that went that day and what we found out and what we have tweaked since then.
So Fannin County, we decided that up to 4 days would be allotted for a cold day. I'm trying to enunciate really clearly so you can hear me through here. I got it, if you can hear me. I hear myself really well. So our 6 through 12 students were able to use their Chromebooks because for 1-to-1, 6 through 12, thank you, Ms. Finley. And then our pre-K through 5th grade were all sent home with resource packets in gallon bags on Wednesday, February 26th. And as of today, we have utilized 1 out of the 4 allotted cold days. And so this, we're not going to read this to you. This is just to tell you a little bit about our process. So did we just one day say, oh, we're going to roll out a cold plan? And that was not the case. Heather and I, for pretty much October and November, researched other systems that had already been successfully implementing their version of a cold plan, a digital learning day, and then we worked on developing a plan that would meet Fannin County's needs. So we proposed our plan, and including steps for faculty and staff, things that all positions could do, to Dr. Gwatney and Mr. Inslee. We talked about it with school administrators. We presented it here at the December meeting, in all the pomp and circumstance. Secondary principals delivered to their faculties. Heather and I met with all the elementary faculty at once at our collaboration day that Dr. Hodges talked about. And we assembled our elementary packets. We got those out. We notified our parents through a social media blitz, the website, shout point calls, and there was a letter to elementary students on the first page of everybody's packet that sort of explained. All day on our first cold day, I know Heather was and I was, and tech, we were attempting to give support administratively, technology, whatever we could do to help people have a successful day. We did identify some issues that day, and one of them was that we needed more training for our classified staff. And that we also needed additional explanation or resources available for our parents. So that was 2 things that sort of came out of it.
You knew that right off.
Yes, because you could tell from the calls that day some of it. And so we launched a survey, 3 surveys, to survey our students, our parents, and our faculty and staff. So Heather will share the data.
Pictures kind of speak for themselves, but out of the parents that we surveyed, 97% of them said that their students participated in cold day that day. Basically, they had their work, they could either complete their packet, or they were able to complete it online. So
have you had any barriers? And 13% of them said they had some barriers. The majority of those might have been they did not have internet connectivity at home, or maybe they didn't have their packet. We had them explain that, so we read all of those comments. But 86% of them had no issues at all. Parent feedback. This was like 4 was like, we loved it, 3 was like, it's good, and 1 was like, we hated it. And so as you can see, about 95% of the parents will feel very good about their students being able to work from home and still receive credit for the day. And should we continue doing it? 96% of our parents said we should continue doing something like that. So, again, we won't read these, but we got lots of parent feedback. And as you can see, this is just 4 of them. If you'd like to see the little spreadsheet, we can share that with you.
Yes.
But we got lots of good stuff. And again, most of it was good stuff, and some of it was stuff we needed to hear, things we needed to fix.
Yeah.
Yes, we did, based on all of this. Yeah, it was very, very good feedback.
So Heather and I did go through and we've read everything that everyone submitted as we go forward trying to make it better.
Yes. And so from faculty and staff, they had a very positive response to, again, the 4 or 5 was, how do you feel about it? And we had no one that disliked it. And so and if you'll see, that's 275 responses. And so that's not just the teachers, that includes all of our support staff as well. And then again, should we continue doing this? 98% of them said yes. And then, go back, sorry. We don't have to read on that. But again, as you see, people really told us good things and things we needed to fix. And so we were very appreciative of that. It was really helpful to us. Because sometimes you don't, from where we're sitting, we don't see all of the little details, good and the bad. And so it's been very helpful to get that feedback.
And I'll say my favorite comment out of all of them is the one that said, among the best things our district has implemented in my 28 years of teaching.
Yes.
So I thought that was a really awesome comment.
So students, I really expected students to be like 100%. Yes, it's great to work from home. But then when you start talking to students, they're like, well, we don't want to work from home or at school. So I think that's where the 9% came from. Because I'm pretty sure they don't mean they, So anyways, but this was the 4 obviously was we loved it, and 1 was no. I think 1 means for them, we don't want to do any work. But anyway, so still positive response. Over 75% of the kids really responded favorably to it. And then this one is the one, this is the hard one to fix right here. This one is, we did have about 16% of our students say that they had not having internet prevented them from doing their work. So I have ordered additional hotspots, but hotspots depend on cell signal to work. And so there are parts in our county that don't have internet and don't have cell signal. Mr. Gramlett lives in one of them. And so if he does, it's very spotty at best, right?
You don't have cell signal, you have internet.
It's not very fast, though, as we discussed, right?
Put fertilizer around the poles.
I didn't know that first. Maybe I should buy fertilizer. Anyway, so we are trying to address that as best we can, but we do know that there are some students we need to give them an alternative site. If you can't complete your work home on the internet, then we need to give you a paper option. So students know that ahead of time. Our Chromebooks also allow you to download work ahead of time and then work offline. And so we have encouraged students to do that as well, but I mean, you still have to access some videos and some things like that they're not able to access. So again, we ordered additional hotspots. We have a waiting list for them now. We had about 8 of them that were dormant, and then all of a sudden we have a waiting list for them. So I actually will, they're all checked out now, and then we have a waiting list. And so those should actually be delivered at the beginning of next week, so we'll have some additional hotspots for that. And so again, we had students, comments, and some of those were, well, why can't it just be a free day? But that's not an option. But my favorite comment was, I think this was yours too, I didn't like it, but it was extremely helpful. I just didn't like it since I'm a procrastinating teen who doesn't want to write a monologue. Smiley face. So so we did get the student comments were the most entertaining.
They were.
Yeah.
Oh, there was definitely honest feedback. As a result,
all the comments. Again, we looked at our program overall, and so we tweaked it everywhere. But one of our big things was a misconception maybe on as far as office hours. One thing that came out of especially the student and the parent surveys was that students wanted and needed access to their teachers for a longer period of time. Some of them said, we started the work, we thought we knew what we were doing, we got to the end of it, the office hours had already ended, and then, the next subject I had a question. So what we've looked at are sort of that work day would be like 2 hours of lesson prep, which especially as we go into something that is online or something, for this, you really need a lot of prep to get the right resources and to put everything into place. If you're filming yourself, you're wearing a wig, whatever. And then putting in 4 office hours so that they will be accessible longer, and then to have 2 hours of assisting and communicating. Feedback is a big thing when you have online work, especially if you're out for more than a day, and so letting them know what the next step is, how did you do on this, because if they missed something in this lesson, that might put them at a disadvantage in the next lesson. So that feedback's really important. And so our call was again about the 3 days to complete this assignment if they didn't have internet. But we've again even sort of revised since then about talking about paper packets. And then administrators' office hours are actually a little bit longer, but I think most of us were up the first whole day at 5 a.m. and I was getting calls till about 6:30, so it was a pretty long day.
And obviously just the benefits of online learning days, and with all of this conversation that's going on around us now, obviously there are benefits when you have to have school closures if you know that we can continue teaching our students in some fashion. And again, it allows us to take those holidays and make days in the event if we are just doing it weather days, then we have a whole other issue now that we're dealing with. So, but it's a viable option. We know that it's a viable option now. And so that makes us feel good that it was successful, and we could tweak it so it will be even better the next time. So we're excited.
You ladies have done a great job with the presentation for the other questions. I love the data. That's really good. We have a situation out there right now with the virus that involves all of us. We are all literally in this together as a community, as a state, as a nation, as a world. And earlier this afternoon, Governor Kemp held a conference call, and my leadership staff, his leadership staff, and I sat in the conference call, and then we had a regional conference call that ended literally just minutes before our board meeting that we went to, and talking about the notion, and I'm going to pick up where Dr. Miller left off, and then we'll ask Dr. Miller to come back up. But Dr. Miller mentioned the notion of firewall, creating kind of an example of, we've all been through that in school. We practice it once a month. We have a firewall. That's where we're at with our community. And there are other communities in the world that are ahead of us in what we are starting to see, not necessarily in Fannin County, but around us. The update that was shared from Betsy's review of Department of Health information, which is updated daily. I noticed the media may have been looking for your packet to that latest one. That had just come in, and we just dropped it in, so it's on simple. You got it, but we get them out every day, and that one had just come out today, and we got it in there like post-active creation. So literally hot off the email, hot off the press from the Department of Health, and we got that in there. Looking at some data that Dr. Miller has shared with me from Italy, for example, and the situation that that country is in, and thinking about, okay, where are they today? Where were they a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Where is China today? Where was China 2 weeks ago, a month ago?
before Christmas. Thinking about certain areas of our nation, in the United States, state of Washington, Massachusetts, Atlanta, you can begin to develop trends and begin to look and make predictions. All going back to what Dr. Moore said about the fire alarm. The governor today announced and gave strong guidance for school districts and gave grace for school districts. Up to 14 calendar days of grace to begin to prepare to implement coming up in the very soon days to come a plan that's designed to sort of improve the situation that could happen here compared to what's happening elsewhere. Dr. Miller?
Sure.
I'm talking about that right there.
Yeah, let me pick up that, and I think Dr. White was set the table exactly. Yeah, I sent Dr. Courtney a graph that basically takes each day from day one at Italy, where they had the same number of cases in their country that we do, and each day in succession. And we're almost mirroring each other as far as the number of cases. Statistically, very similar. And our day 8, which we're at now, was almost eerily similar to their day 8. They waited another 5 to 6 days before they closed their schools, past kind of where we are right now, almost a week. And you'll see the graph on where they are just get exponentially higher. We began in our country to start to mitigate a lot of things that they didn't do earlier on. We're seeing, happen with all of our big events that are going on with March Madness and collegiate sports and NBA sports and all these big events that are happening across the country. So that's, I think, something that we're already implementing that may be a little bit farther ahead. So the question now is what we want to do about the school system. They closed on day 12 on our schools. So I think that when you look at statistics and the rationale behind school closures, what we see is that early intervention for school closures is when you get the most bang for your buck, the most success. After you wait to a certain point, once the spread of disease has already got to a certain level, we find that school closure has less impact. Because if you look at how this thing migrates, one statistic I'll just throw out, flu has, for every one person that gets the flu, 1.4 people can get the virus from that person. So they'll give it to 1.5. For this, for the coronavirus, we're seeing that for every one person that gets it, 2.4 people. So it's almost twice as virulent, twice as likely to spread from person to person. So it doesn't take long for it to be a small part of a community where you have an isolated few people that all of a sudden it spreads like wildfire. And where do we see that spread potentially happen the quickest? Well, based on my wife's black light in the school, is the school system will be a place where those things can happen. It's up there with those big large events. So I feel like if we're going to make a decision about that, just looking at the statistics, you'll see something called flattening the curve. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure everybody kind of watching the news to hear this term. So flattening the curve basically means that we know that the way this virus is, it's going to impact a significant component of the United States. And there's a bell curve that happens. We know that there's a certain finite amount of hospital staff and readiness that hospitals can tolerate when it comes to that bell curve and where it spikes. If we have the capacity to make that bell curve flatten out, so that we have less people all at one time going into a hospital system, then we're going to be much less likely to overwhelm our system and create problems and chaos like they're dealing with in Italy. So as a medical professional and being someone that serves in a position where I have to know my facts and know what would be in the best interest, that's what the data is telling us. So I think that's something that you need to definitely factor in as you try to make a decision is when is the right time to do it early enough so that you can have the best response and prevent the spread of the disease.
And I want to commend Dr. Miller for taking the time to educate me on this prior to tonight. The same information that he shared with you, and this, the use of data is powerful. We are constantly trying to use data to get better. But we're using data in this instance, remembering the fact that we're all in this together, and looking at the likelihood of potential based on data from other places of what could happen. We want to do our part to flatten that curve. So tomorrow, we're going to come in on your regular school day. Remember, we dismissed 2 hours early for numbers. But our team's going to come in tomorrow. We're going to be in process tomorrow, meetings administratively, to work together. Tomorrow, to begin making plans. Coal is something that we thought we would just use for snow. But coal is something that we're going to retool on the fly and quickly tomorrow. And we are going to take advantage of the opportunity the governor is providing the entire state of Georgia. Flatten that curve. And is going to be a part of that. And we will be out next week. We will revisit that decision a week from now, see about the follow-up. But we want to do our part to keep this bill safe. And as Dr. Miller has pointed out, and I love the story that he shares about his child at the sink with the hand washing activity at home. The child got away for what, 30 seconds?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. And found the child, brought the child back over to the sink and finished the hand washing activity, but reached the black light.
We looked to see where she went in that 10 seconds that she ran away.
And that's how this works. And if you look at the virus, and this is medical, so I want to verify with you before, but children are likely less affected from this than adults. And so children are likely to carry it. And so we want to do our part to protect this community. Because again, we are all in this together. And it's interesting to me how things seem to happen for a reason. And if we're living right in this world, we have an opportunity, we have data from parents, we have data from faculty and staff, and we have the entertainment data from students, that this system works and allows us to continue the educational process, because that's what we're all about. But we're also all about discipline. And so look for more information. This is literally, I guess, ours was on breaking news. Normally we would, announce things, but the rate at which this is unfolding, earlier this week, we had a couple of field trips that one of them was Banjo, my wife and child and owner. We're going to bring them back earlier at this point. But in the time that we were making that decision to go, the data, everything indicated was that we can have that trip. I even called our district home director, Dr. Taylor, and Dr. Miller, and I still on the meeting with Dr. Taylor. Any objections to this trip? No objections. So we reached out to Orlando on that, and had conversations there, and checked the data, and looked on that end. So this is a very dynamic, a very fluid situation, and we want to stay ahead of it. And so I commend, for example, your school's approach at the high school with that trip. We had a parent meeting. We had a parent meeting that was led by the band director, led by you, and also one of the parents who happened to also be Dr. Miller, who is going on that trip as well. He spoke to parents and he's on that trip himself. And so this is in the interest of public safety. And we want to do our part. And so that's the reason for the presentation. And I thank the local officials for educating us in that collaboration with Dr. Miller's photo. It is present in that. Dr. Miller, you have a message for Dr. Adam.
I think the important thing that to look out for is just to, listen to those people that you know as a good source of information. See what those officials that really have the eyes and ears for the community, what they're saying when it comes to how to protect yourself, protect your kids, protect your loved ones. I think that things will change as we go along. There'll be more. I think in the time frame that you had your paper jacket, they would have likely with the death that we had associated with it. Now, it wasn't on there because that happened after that. It was probably a few months Mars update. So there are things that are going to continue to change, but listen to those people, those officials that I think will be, their job is to give out good information. And so we'll continue to look at that. We'll continue to adapt things. You'll continue to hear releases from the school system. You'll hear releases from the hospital community and others that are within the community that their job is to keep you informed. So as we go along, we'll let people know what the best things to do and the best practices that to manage as for
Board, do you have any questions about the limit? I have a question, technology question. Do you think we'll be in a position to cache multiple ways of lessons for students that have access to
Well, you can download a document and look on it. So, but if you're doing online instruction like video and stuff, if the video is pre-made and you can download it on their Chromebook, then yes. So that's a lot to download. Like if you're at school tomorrow, you'll know that that's possible to download that much material in one day. Teachers don't have it ready. You can't download a week's worth of stuff in one day. They don't have it ready yet.
be that as it might, can't do both. But your side, you want one institution. Like I said, we make all this street,
Without the opportunity to actually test it on that and make several key refinements that it will be a better experience. Thank you. So, very impressive.
thank you, Dr.
So we talked with our principals, elementary school principals, yesterday and today about, the packets are great, but they're also very hard to sustain like real-time learning, And so we actually have enough technology for third through fifth grade to be able to do online learning. And so my tech team and I went through, got our numbers, and we made it a possibility to have Chromebooks at home with our third through fifth graders if they need a device at home. We've done extensive training with all of our staff in the Google Classroom for them to be able to push out assignments in. Our kids are familiar and third through fifth grade with logging on in that manner. So we actually sent a letter home tonight that asks parents, do you have a device at home? Do you have internet connectivity? If you don't need one, that's fine, let us know. If you do have internet connectivity and you would like a Chromebook, let us know. They're signing an agreement, we'll have those available. How exactly we get those out to parents next week, we're not sure yet. We do have 3 days left on the original packet we sent home for grades K through 5. So they have 3 days of work that they don't need a computer for. But starting Thursday, we'll be able to deliver that instruction online for third and fifth grade that have packets for our K through 2 still. Pre-K through 2 kids. And so, but we'll be able to do that with those. And then, of course, we have that option on there. If they have no internet connectivity, that we will be able to give them work in paper format. But I'm just thankful we have that technology because that's in real time. They can talk with their teachers, and that's more meaningful instruction than just giving them work to do on their own using, paper worksheets.
I think it's great. After meeting all of them, it's in the box, always meet good. We didn't hear as much communication with us.
We didn't know we were preparing for this.
team is incredible. And not just these two, but all of our directors and principals, leadership behind this is very powerful. Thank you. Okay, let's take I'm recommending that I recommend we take a recess, we'll come back in 5 minutes, so, okay, we're good.
All right, our next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Beck, check out our.
Yes, sir, we do have one, Public comment, Bill Blair.
Bill Blair, you want to speak up? Okay, Mr. Blair, you want to speak strictly on the census?
Well, pretty much.
Okay, well.
I think it's gonna be it. Just for the ones that don't know me, my name is Dale Blair. I'm a retired firefighter. Live in Morganton, have lived there for about 27 years. My kids are both proud graduates of the Fannin County school system. Got tired of being retired and put in for a job with the census, got hired. Go figure. I'm a recruiter with the census. When I first started, I was over 8 counties, I believe it is, and went to all the school systems. Only one superintendent said, hey, come in my office and talk to me. That was Dr. Quadri. And I wanted to come here tonight to thank him for all the work he's done for us and the schools. I think I've been in every school in Fannin County in some sorts, trying to recruit people for the job. But Dr. Quadri has gone above and beyond any other school district that I've been dealing with the census, and I just wanted to come in and publicly thank him and let him know that it is appreciated. And while I do have your ear, I have to talk a little bit about the census. It's right here at it. You should be getting in the mail any day your code to do the census. If you don't know about the census, it gets communities lots of money. Basically, every person that does not get counted is like giving the feds back $2,400. That's a rough number, but and historically, last time I think we were in the 50 percentile range on the ones that did do the census. So there's lots of money that we could get that we don't. It just makes sense to do it. It's nothing bad can come out of it. You know, they know where you're at anyway. That's how they know what the percentage applies. The other thing is like I said, I'm a recruiter. We're one of the highest paid counties in North Georgia because our numbers for recruiting is still low. If you know anybody that needs a good temporary job, it's $19 an hour, 57 cents for every mile you drive your car. Help me get the word out that we still need people to put the applications in. 190, I think, they still want me to get applications. I've got paperwork on it if you know anybody looking for work. I'll be sure. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. We realize the importance of the census and in our own schools, but we appreciate your work. Promote it. It is very important to citizens. The next item on the agenda is policy updates.
Hello, board. I know you thought that we were getting close to being done, but you know, you just can't quite let it go. It's amazing because it's been a lot about interagency communication. Well, some interagency communication happened earlier today that already slightly changed the policy that's going to be on the table. So we have 2 policies, existing board policies, that were tabled at our last meeting. And so recommendations for revisions arose for those. They have not changed. One did change as a part of that tabling process, and we'll see that. Basically, as we've gone through, again, we've done feedback. Every stage of this process. So if you weren't here for some of the earlier policy presentations that were much longer than this will be, this started as a comprehensive policy manual review to ensure that all of our policies were up to date with legislation, that they met our practices, and that it was a good, healthy policy manual to govern our actions. So we engaged in this process with GSBA and our representative from Harbin, Hartley, and Hawkins. After we presented our initial versions, everything was on the table for a month. Everything has been tabled from one month to the next, and during that time, it has been available for public feedback, first through our private assembly site created just for the policy revision process. Thankfully, we ended a lot of that at the last meeting, and so now we're down to these 2 holdovers, and then we're just going to throw something extra on the table so I can talk about this at least one more board meeting, because, you know, policy just can't die. So, Mr. Inslee, if you will scroll down. First policy was policy EDDB, walkers and riders. It was simply a change in the diction because Mr. Denver Foster mean, Fannin County's really never had a transportation manager, so it was just aligning with our titles here in Fannin. That was not changed at all since it was tabled. And LDAJA, interrogations and investigations. This is the policy that as a result of the tabling process and the feedback from our district attorney, Allison Sosby, who is here today, as well as DFACS, and we all met about this policy led by Ms. Shannon Miller. It was a wonderful, informative time as we look at local procedures and policies. I mean, it sounds like a good time for everybody, right? Absolutely. So the only change that has occurred since that it was tabled is that shall to should. Due to the nature of law enforcement, there may be times when it would be inappropriate to have someone in that room who would detect a witness. So that was the only change since then. So this, these are the two policies that are before you tonight to consider. Nope, not that one yet. These are the two policies.
Yeah. EDPB and LDAGA. So with that, we'll pause the presentation. I'll make the recommendation to the chair to approve these policies as presented at the second reading. No, sir.
These are good.
The change before it was not required.
Because it is part of the feedback process, that's part of the tabling process, Department Hartley and Hawkins says it is good to go.
Some of the
All in favor? Thank you. All right, and next now, this will just be a recommendation to table.
Yes. The next policy is simply a recommendation to table, and if you scroll down, this is policy DJED, fits in quotations, and if you keep scrolling down, upon recommendation of our counsel at Department Hartley and Hawkins, it is adding the line purchases from state contracts or purchasing agencies, and that is the and so that was again suggested by council and also approved by our policy guru, Ms. Marvin Brooks. And that is now presented to you to consider tabling tonight.
Make that recommendation. Chair to table this as presented. The one.
second.
All in favor? Thank you. And you'll post this and we have the opportunity for feedback and we can revisit that.
It is the exact same
Process.
So see you next month.
Thank you. Mr. Danner. And I know we haven't approved on this item, but at this time, it's the approved purchase of school alert systems. Want to tell us a little bit about what we're looking at?
Yes, sir. I've been working on this for several months. I'm still not ready to present this to you. So that I know I still like to get some more references and everything. We'll make the best decision we can for the school system.
School research system. So it says approved, we're working, but we will take no action on this. I make a recommendation to accept to table this as a petition for budget items. That's research. There's no need to make a motion or second on this. Any questions?
Thank you.
It's, well, it was just presented and no action taken. Number 14, request permission to pursue anything has to do with old gym HVAC plugs.
Yes, for anybody that's been in the old gymnasium during the summertime months, it gets very warm there. Even not in summertime months, in August, September, it gets very warm in there. So yeah, this has been a wish list for multiple years. So we finally want to try to pursue this. So we actually had an architect engineer from Southern A&E come up to do an evaluation. His recommendation is to AC the gym instead of putting one big unit in the center of the gym where the heat unit is now. Just because of the structural restrictions of the gym, he recommends putting 4 units on the corners of the gym. It would be sturdy enough to hold these units, keep the existing heat in the center. But again, these will be AC and heat units, gas, of course, So again, we'll have in the winter months, again, we'll have ample enough heat. And, so again, there's no use taking that heat unit out because it still is functional. Since it's going to be on the corner of the gym, it's not going to interfere with that heat. So again, I'm just asking for permission to pursue this project, put it out to bids. Southern A&E will take care of all that. The first process is to submit drawings to the Department of Education, get their approval. Once the Department of Education approves it, then we'll actually put it out here. This is just for permission to pursue. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Talk about leaving the heat unit in the middle. How long has that unit been there?
As far as I know, since it was built, it was never air conditioned, but it is functional now. It is on our energy management system, so again, it is operational.
By asking that though, what I'm talking about, there's much more energy efficient units now than they was back on the same field. And I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be cost saving wise to go ahead and put a more modern heat unit there. Understand what I'm saying?
I do.
You know.
That unit is still functional. If it is more efficient to run these 4 units for heat, we'll just turn that unit off then. So again, but it is still operational, and these other 4 units are AC and heat.
Okay.
So again, if we replace that one heat unit in the center, of course, the air conditioning is a whole lot more heavier than these, so that's why they recommend this.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Would that not one facility we follow our capital projects instead of possibly?
Possibly it could. The capital outlay project, the COPS program, again, that's how the system recoups money from the state. This is not in that current plan. I've actually went to Whitfield County today and met with Doug Suits and the facilities team in there for their 5-year plan, getting ready for our 5-year plan to come for renewal for next year. And so Mr. Suits, Doug Suits is going to help actually come up next Thursday, and we start our plan for the next. So yeah, but yeah, it is a process. Again, it is not in the current plan in the COPS program now, so we could not use that. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a lot of entitlement money for us if it's in the plan. So, but it's not in there yet.
I think there is a need for this new show components to do that, but any of those classes and activities that are held in the former months, it's like, we use that gym all day long, all evening. And so we have so many different programs that come in our community, want to use that facility. It gets cold, it's kind of summertime, it gets pretty sweaty. Now, wrestlers, they like it sweaty. More, there's a lot of other groups that we we'd be very grateful if it's better. So, Mr. Chair, I recommend grant permission to pursue Medicaid High School only to HVAC program. Only it's, I'm going to hold Sure, have that one.
So,
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thankful we have spots to have a new gym, so we can have it. Better.
Just do the top one, I'm not sure what order they're in. Yes. It's that time of year again. Actually, I'm on my way to Whitfield County today, grabbing players blooming, grass is green, and so again, we put this out to bid last month. We notified, emailed all previous bidders that bid last year. And also, we put it, of course, on our website, procurement registry. Had one company that actually come to our pre-meeting. I'm not sure what the date was, but again, it was, I'm sorry, 26. Had one company show up. So again, I take around to all 5 schools. He actually didn't put in a bid. And so again, we had a bid opening this Tuesday. We only had one company bid. That was Pro Turf Landscape. They're out of Clayton, actually, yeah, Clayton, they're out of Clayton. It's the same company that, has been awarded the bids in Fannin County the last 2 years. They bid exactly the same thing on every facility except the ag facility. The ag facility, they took a beating last year. That's the first time we added that to the contract, and, so again, they upped it by $300 per month. And, but other than that, everything stayed exactly the same. Again, they were the only one that bid. They've done a pretty good job, just like any company, you're gonna have your issues with. I called the owner directly, and, at one time, the owner actually come to our site the next day, and, he called me after he visited here. He said, trust me, he said, that will happen again. So we've had pretty good success with them. And, but again, just like anything, you gotta check your work, and if there are issues, you give them a call.
Mr. Chair, I make a recommendation to approve the enrollment bid. Make that.
Second.
I got it. I hope I didn't make a fool out of myself, but I do. First of all, I'd like to say, any comments I make is from me. It ain't from me or anything. But, last year I voted against this company because I don't think they did a good job, and you just got through saying, well, we gotta go with it. But what I feel so bad about is all the people we got in Fannin County who know grass for a living. And years gone by, they've stuck up their time, one looked at all this, made a bid, and they didn't get it. I'm not comfortable with collecting $48,000 out of Fannin County when we got people here that do the same job. It might cost us a little more, but I think you get back what you pay for. Now, we've had people who have mowed our grass for years gone by, done an excellent job, I think. So, we might have to pay a little bit more to get an excellent job, but that's just my feeling. And, no, I tell you what I feel. But that's just me. I think that next year, I hope that some of our people who are big afford will come back. But I saw one day, and I asked that person, I said, sharpen your pencil? He said, no, I'm done with it.
I understand that.
You know, but people put in bids, and they don't get it. They do the job. Let me say this too. And I have been, since we started, getting people money. I have been against letting one person do it. What would happen if we had 7 days of rain? They don't get nothing. They get paid every week. They get paid every week. No, right?
If they don't mow for a week because of weather, they do not get that.
Okay, but anyhow, my thing is, if you've got 2 people who do all of our grass, they got a big chance of getting all of our grass mowed if they have bad weather or something like that. And that one person. And that's another thing. Yeah, I think I should.
All in favor?
One vote.
Passes.
Next item on the agenda is for approval of license request. Okay. Yes. No.
Tell us about this.
Yes, this is a field trip for our North Star students, and our North Star students is served under the continuum of special education, and we combine services and we serve some of Gilmer students on our campus along with some of our Fannin students. So this is our middle school students at Fannin and Gilmer, and they'll be attending. It's a skills-based trip where they go out and they demonstrate some of the social skills that they're working on and how to
Motion for question.
Oh, never mind. Wait, we're not.
I think we approve it with the understanding that the date changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that date is flexible. It's the notion of taking this trip and doing that. So there's a motion, a second.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just monitor that date, just be prepared to adjust. All right, district financial report.
Good evening.
Oh, that's fine. Let's say it one more time. Let's spend it on the kindergarten. Let's spend it on their school kindergarten, and what was the amount? At the ETC Ignite Awards, $10,000. Congratulations. That's the kids, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Josh, just get to it. We got other things. More breaking news.
Positive, right?
I'm sorry, got a little side there, $10,000.
That's one reason to be excited. Okay, we have our January financial report for 2023. We're at 58.33% for the fiscal year. Our local revenue sources, we are at 88.73% of budget versus 83% for the prior year. Our total revenues are at 75.22% versus 72% from the prior year. Our total expenditures were at 54.45% versus 56%.
Very good. Any questions? We have recommendation to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Thank you. And let's look at the next item, response.
Our SLOSS collections, 462,104.34 that we received in January. We received for January, which that's the first time is above what it was the prior year. For January, it is the highest one. That's the first time in the last 9 months it's been below 500, but it is the highest that we have compared to the January.
Thank you for this call. Any other questions, comments on that one? Thank you. All right. Approved intergovernmental agreement between Fannin and Board of Education and local government. At this time, I'll ask Board of Education Superintendent Dawson, including Lynn and Ken. Information, share with us on this one.
Okay, and the folks, the Fannin County Board of Education, Fannin County Board of Commissioners have a long time history of working together, especially over the summer months, to provide services for our children, many of whom would otherwise maybe not have the appropriate adult supervision and might not have adequate nutrition during the summer. So this is an intergovernmental agreement between the Board of Education and this county, for the county's recreational department to use the services of buses from the Board of Education and through the cooperation of the nutrition department will be providing meals. The Board of Education, I believe, has already passed the portion as to the buses. This was being done to include the nutrition part. The Board of Commissioners has already approved it, subject to the work.
Some of the new last year that we had to operate over adults, not yet. Being the name of Fannin County schools and stuff. But it's early, it's for concession stand at the Fannin County Rec Department. So that's why the intergovernmental agreement. Just preparing meals and serving the food. We're not responsible for the actual facility.
next item is to approve summer meal contract with Fannin Recreation Park Facility.
We just want another $10,000.
East
East
Fannin
Fannin.
Elementary School, West Fannin, East Fannin, 10,000. Is that correct?
$10,000. So we're at 20 right now. We're still waiting on middle school and high school to bring home some more cash. That was free time, right? All the time.
I think you're gonna get in trouble with this.
I'm sorry. It's good stuff. I need another dollar. I'm getting excited about this money.
This agreement is very similar to what Ms. Dawes just explained to you. This is specific for the summer food service program with the recreation department and the school nutrition program. And this is actually the contract that right from the start requires, right from the starts, the group that issues the grant that the rec department works under. So that's why this is a little bit different, so it's a lot the same.
I think our position will approve this agreement. These terms are essentially the same, other than the dates and last year.
Correct, yes.
Second. Discussion. All in favor? Thank you. 21, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. On February the 26th, Mr. Galloway, Mr. Bramlett, myself, we had 3 community members, Stacy Chastain from Tri-State, EMC, Christian Gribble with the Economic Development, and Jan Hackett, who took the survey, was sick that day, was not able to participate in the actual meeting part, but did take the survey to help us with the data side. So we listened to Dr. Clark and I met to talk about the internal review that we do for our board. Our board takes a self-assessment every year to do an extensive report, how they evaluate themselves. And the other is we have external community members that come out and actually do that as well and take the same survey. And then we go back and we look at the results, and then we bring up good discussion about what's going on in our school. It's questions about, how policies are made. It's questions about the superintendent. It's questions about how we function on a day-to-day kind of basis. And a lot of that comes out with a lot of I don't knows from the community because they don't know some of the processes that we have. And it brings up good discussion for us. So we go through each one of those standards and those objectives itself and talk about those and discuss them. So we come up with a document that I'd like to share with you. It's 25th, not 26th, sorry. The 2019-2020 Board Internal Review Committee met on Tuesday, February 25th, to review the results of the online board assessment and annual board standards review. All committee members unanimously agreed that the review was very helpful and informative to all committee members as they discussed the policies and procedures that the Fannin Board of Education has in place. The important role that parent involvement plays in student success and the diligence of school system employees and board members show to make the parent and community involvement a priority this day. All members agreed that the Fannin Board of Education members function together in a well-organized and professional manner. It was noted that the board members work alongside the superintendent with the common goal of higher student achievement for each and every student in the county. This reaffirms the vision of the school board members that the Fannin School System holds a vision of excellence for all students with successful student progression at each level and 100% graduation rate. It was agreed that going through this process was very valuable. And so we had a great meeting. We met probably an hour, a little longer, and just to, this is just our agenda that we had that day. We had introductions, we looked at all the data, we looked at our next steps, and of course, all sides of it, our perspective. I did ask our board if we would to approve this, whether we can, I'll tell you some great news in the next agenda.
Make that recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Any discussion? All in favor? Mr. President.
Yes, sir. All right. I'm going to click on a little link here that I'm excited about. I'm excited about that $20,000, don't get me wrong, but this is exciting too. GSBA exemplary board application has been submitted. We have received confirmation from GSBA that all things have been received. We now wait for the approval of our status. I want to thank you for what you've done this year. You have gone above and beyond the 12 hours is required training. Many of you may not know, but back on March the 3rd, our board actually went to the Capitol as additional. Yes, it really is to go just to see the speak with Speaker Ross, speak with Senator Booth. We had, of course, Ms. Dawson, Ms. Reagan was with us, had a great day at the Capitol. We've got other trainings that are set up once legislation gets through. We got Matt Cordoza coming in July to talk to us about the changes in legislation. Legislation is a lot of language going on in education right now in the legislative world. So he will come in July and actually give us more information. That's much more than our board is required to do. To be an exemplary board, you have to do 3 hours more than what a regular board does. So they're going exemplary board plus. So thank you for what you do and what you have done this year to make this process so smooth. I hope you've enjoyed your training and your retreats. I have, and I've enjoyed it. I am thankful to say we have completed on our end everything that we need.
Great job, Board. Great job, Chair.
Not that.
So approval, meeting on that, that takes us in, 23 personnel out to the along with the personnel sheet. I will defer to the chair. This is the personnel sheet end date is March 12th, 2020, resignations. First resignation from Morrison Harper, effective date 5/28/2020. The next recommendation is resignation of Mark Stone, effective date 5/31/2020. Thank you. The next recommendations all have an effective date of June 1st, 2020. Thank you, collectively. So, Diane Bailey, Gary Baxter, Michelle Stone, Leah Davenport, Ken Davies, Henry, Gordon, Jordan Kay, Matthews, David, and all. Motion for all those approved. Second. I'll probably abstain and let's go. All in favor? That's passed. 3-0. Thank you. The next item is to rescind a recommendation that was made on February 13th, 2020. It's the board, halfway, coordinator at 49%, both approved, recommend rescission. Okay. No. The next recommendations are pending completion of paperwork and background check. Jace T. Gibbs as custodian and Jerry Mitchell as transportation. I'll make that recommendation. All in favor?
I gotta say, yeah, but,
Yep. All those in favor? All right, and then the last is recommendation for substitute teacher, pending completion of paperwork and background check. That's a thing. All in favor? Okay. Next item is superintendent's comments. First, I'd like to begin with saying, thank you, Mike, and I said, one big shout out to West Fannin on that out one. I'd like to thank the senior presentations from Allison Sosby and Irvin Mathis, Lucas, for the CPA presentation. People, your staff, it's great. Betsy, great job on the health update. On short notice, but thank you for pulling that together really well. Thank you. A special shout out to Dr. Warren Dorn for all of this stuff. Mr. Clark, thank you for your public comment for the city. Heather Finley and Sarah Welch, congratulations on the whole presentation and the work that you put on the research system and the data and engagement that you've done on the program. Your work.
Mr. Ansel?
Great job, I think it's just great process, great, great program. Program.
And this is back on March 3rd. And I want to give a special shout out to this Board of Education for going on legislative cycles, who they are, also, and then also for the fitness programs behind them here. I noticed that they do good attendance as well. Let's go back down and step on this scroll. Yeah, back on that scroll. Even to get to be recognized by the speaker from up in the gallery, and then get good under the belt with the speaker. Also, notes and introductions in the program as well. See our legislators and then in action. I'm commending the board for that. Ms. Dawson, we have a letter. Go back. Tell us about that.
Well, I think we all agree we had a wonderful time at the Georgia House. We certainly were treated like royalty. We got to go to the doors of the home. People don't get to go in, and we got to sit in places that people sit. We got very special. And Speaker Ralston, bless him, it has been an unprecedented week. If you're a political junkie, you may know that today is crossover day, which means that every bill that's going to be a bill has to transfer from one side to the other, and then you have a 3-hour delay in the middle of the day to deal with issues with this virus. They have a very long night ahead of them. And it was the speaker's intention to first do a video to be presented to you here tonight. That ran out because of time, and so yesterday he was like, well, we can do Facebook Live or FaceTime Live. That didn't work either. So earlier today, he sent to me this letter and asked that I read it on his behalf to the Fannin County Board of Education. Greetings. I very much appreciate the work that you do to support our teachers and students as members of our Fannin County Board of Education. During this school board Appreciation Week, it is an opportune time to thank you for the invaluable public service you provide to our community. I am proud that the Georgia House of Representatives wholeheartedly supports public education in Georgia. This year, we have adopted a budget that rewards our public school teachers and employees with well-deserved raises. We have fully funded QBE, quality-based education, and provided additional funding to satisfy the 1 to 450 school counselors ratio requirement. These are tangible representations of the importance we place on educating our children and their future. As you work to ensure a responsive student-centered system of public education, please know that you have my support and thanks for the leadership you demonstrate each and every day. May God bless you all and our great state of Georgia. Sincerely, David Ralston.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dawson. I want to give a special shout out to ETC for the grant. So, how incredible is that? So thank you to them as well. Thank you for the board. There's one last attachment issue that I superintendent's comments. And there's a letter in there that I'll release tomorrow. It's right here. They truly do sow the seeds of the future. Thank you for all you do.
Take my picture. No, I got more higher there.
While our superintendent here in his office after that, so I'm just gonna hit some things that really stood out. Dr. Hodges, yeah, great student. Of course, you know, I went to East Fannin, so I had a daughter at West Fannin, so I have all of my affiliation with you, and I just really
thank you for all that. That presentation brings back a lot of memories that were stirred in me with, your staff. Great job you're doing there. Mr. Root cannot talk him up enough. CTAE is my heart. Thank you, college people, but I love tech. So, what he's doing and what he's bringing to the table, I already had it in my mind about the pharmacy tech and cybersecurity that is being rolled out, and with and Suzanne here tonight from Southern Drug, her getting to see that. That's an excitement for her with pharmacy tech. It's exciting for me because we need those people in the workplace. And, those people in my field. So that's really exciting. And, you know, Mr. Blair, thank you for your work because, you know, all that statistic stuff you're getting together kind of helps us. So I appreciate that. So I just thank you very much.
I'm just gonna say, ditto, I'm kind of fine with it. I just want to add one thing though, to what Mr. Walker said, and Mr. Cole. Ryan Higgins, I don't know who you know Ryan Higgins or not. He's behind Ace. He's way back of Ace Hardware. He runs a sign shop, he makes doors and windows and all kind of stuff like that. And I think he's kind of up here at the top on his soap service. He builds them. Yeah. And I'd like to recognize him. I've talked to him when I've been out there about that, and he's really excited about like Sarah Welch is about her job. And he's really excited to see kids, students are getting to do the roller derby thing. I am too. I like roller derby. Yeah. I like to go out there and watch that. But anyhow, just wanted to mention him. Appreciate everybody being here, especially our principals, assistant principals. I'd like to recognize the DA for coming tonight. She didn't have to come, I'm sure, but she did. That's the kind of lady she is. And I appreciate the people that come and what is it, yeah, appreciate those. Just have a good night. Oh, let me ask you to do one thing. We talk about viruses, all this kind of stuff. I told somebody today there's two things that I especially see. I know I'm gonna have a wreck one of these days, but I don't know when. I know that. I'm gonna have a wreck, I don't know when. We're talking about the virus today. I may catch that. I don't know when. But I'll tell you one thing it works. Prayer. And I've got a set of praying hands on my tithe now, my wife laid up on it. We need to pray. This stuff goes away. And we've got God to do that.
Thank you all for staying with us. This is for those of you, most everyone living, Snuff is involved in our system, we're an educator, and understand what ink is. You may be wondering why East Fannin is going to games, it's the ink museum. It's not what's in your pen. INK is an acronym for Interactive Kids Neighborhood, Interactive Neighborhood for Kids, INK. And it's a huge display of all kinds of different disciplines, from music to fire engines and actual airplane, and it's very interactive and kids love it. I held an executive board meeting there and had about 70 adults, and they had involved. But it's a wonderful experience. I'm glad that they're still using it. That's what INK's there for. The first time I heard that, I said, well, I don't know how you can justify doing it. Anyway, interactive neighborhood for kids. Thank you again for helping hold this. Most systems are playing catch up in technology. Our system, technology is out in front of leading the way, and what an incredible payoff to have this level of technology in place. unanticipated circumstances. I wonder just how many systems will be in the position that we are in, when you have all that technology, but thank you, thanks for the entire technology. The trip down to the Capitol was a very enjoyable day. Senator Gooch was very gracious and welcoming us. I did want to say that our representative, Speaker of the House, Mr. Lawson, recognized the Fannin County school system. We were in the gallery, but we recognized his father on the floor, and he referred to us as one of the finest school systems in the state of Georgia. Very gracious, and we certainly appreciate Jay and all that he's done for us. The support of education is very obvious in the past this year. What a team. What a team to have in place in a situation that requires extraordinary action. You are all so very competent in your jobs. What really strikes me is the sincere concern and dedication that you have with our students. So that from an academic standpoint, to a nutritional standpoint, I think that elevates this system far above anything else that we do. The sincere love, the dedication, the concern that you have for our students. Thank you all for that. I just have to point out that Suzanne is a great example of our education system right here in Fannin County. She's a pharmacist, pharmacist school, and right back here in Fannin County, Blue Ridge is operating pharmacies, and thank you for being on this appointment.
Say thank you to each and every one of you. Lots was said, and I agree with everything. I also want to touch on Mr. Luke, his vision and stuff, and I'm so excited. We can show the honor we got to out there. A lot of the foundation that he's doing, he laid. I appreciate that. I acknowledge that. I do appreciate that. He's able to build on that. It's great. I appreciate y'all working together. I actually see the feeling that I do. Oh, bragging on well, we already been said that the way when things come at us, where y'all back down, and that's what I always admire about y'all. Y'all take it head on. We've always got me like a vision ahead. You're always looking at it. You always, when it comes, y'all ain't act like you're crazy. Y'all already got something in place. I'm so thankful. Y'all, every one of you, thank you. I admire you. Dr. Miller, I'll just say congratulations, Bruce, and then we got two other things that I want to say we have now. Congratulations. With that.